Big Sills! Welcome aboard. Appreciate everyone stepping in with us. I was just telling Tone, my wife hasn't been feeling uh, well, and she's been like a little bit under the weather. And so, like, yesterday was like summer camp. It was Chinese food and it was pizza. And I'm like, what? But my daughter's home for the summer from college. And I'm like, man, I thought it was like summer camp. And so I'm sitting around going, okay, so it's kind of one of those days. All right, where we go. It's all good. And I'm not complaining. I'm just like, Jesus. I'm like, there we go. Okay, we got Domino's, pizza, and we got Chinese food. I don't know. Then again, I don't traditionally start my show out like that, but I'm in a summer camp mode. So indulge me here today. All right. Latest on DeAndre Hopkins. Let me ask you something. Did you have different priorities when you were younger versus when you were older? Didn't you have different priorities? So let me ask you the number one priority on DeAndre Hopkins right now. Okay? Is it winning or money? What is your number one priority? What do you want to do? You're 31 years old in 6 days. You're 31 years old. What do you want to do? Are you the same DeAndre Hopkins of 5 years ago? Probably not. Have you lost a little bit of a step? Probably so. Do you still have those amazing hands? Yes. Why is it the easy go-to for sports media people, especially in Philly? Well, there's not enough footballs to go around. That player is not who he was. He's who he is today. There's not a team on the planet that is going to give DeAndre Hopkins a 1-year, $23 million deal. Do you know why Odell Beckham got that money in Baltimore? He's a bigger perceived star. He's going to sell more tickets in Baltimore than what Hopkins would. Look at the teams Hopkins has played for, the Texans and the Cardinals. Odell Beckham is a social media magnet. You know, he's got one of the biggest followings of a non-quarterback in the NFL. Tone says for his entire career, he's played with crappy organizations, crappy ownership, and crappy quarterbacks outside of Watson. He's looking for stability at this point. That's Tone's opinion on it, looking for stability. Well, no team that's stable in their right mind would give you a 3-year contract on May 31st. Coming off of an ACL injury and you becoming 31. Who in their right mind would do that? A panic organization would. See, like I said, you're not putting all, some go, and they continue to say this. I just don't see how it could fit. So wait a minute. Let me put that statement out there one more time. I don't see how it could fit having DeAndre Hopkins on your team. If you can't figure that Rubik's Cube out, you're fired. You're fired. Now, are there going to be teams that have more of a priority need for Hopkins? Is that going to be high on? Here, I think that's a fair question. How high on the pecking order chain is that a priority for Howie right now? You know what it's probably? Here, I would say this. It's intrigued him. Watching how this guy operates, I wouldn't say, like, you know, sometimes when you walk by something, you go like this. I want that. I need that. That's something that could help me become a better whatever. You know when you go, I want that. I don't think he's there saying that. I need that. I want that. I think he says this. DeAndre Hopkins would be a luxury. How could I make it work financially, and how could I make it work feasibly for my organization to think that that would be a good move? I think he goes from that area, not from the area that most media people come from, getting to know. One of my favorite lines of all time, and I use it in my life, I try to get to yes. So if I'm Howie, I'm trying to have a positive output and go like this. One of my receivers goes down, protects me there. You know, it's kind of like the Fletcher Cox $10 million deal. Now, a couple months after them giving Fletcher Cox $10 million a year, that deal looks pretty damn impressive. I like that deal, especially with all the young players you have at the DT position, right? Looks like Howie struck gold again and made the right call. 7.5 sacks, $10 million. Fletcher's got 2 young guys. I don't know, man. That really looks like a good environment. That really looks like a great environment. And Howie's really done a remarkable job with that. So I think he probably comes from this. I don't really need it. But how could it become? You see, in my opinion, a general manager wants to get value on a player or a situation 3-1. 3-1. See, when you give A.J. Brown that kind of money, $25 million, and you give up a draft pick for him, this is what you got to get back in return. Career numbers, helping my quarterback, and being unstoppable. That's 3-1. Because all you do is, I paid him 25 for all that. That's worth it. You see, A.J. Brown is living up to his contract. That's living up to your, and by the way, on top of it with the cherry, you're winning. That's a 3-1 return. Let's take a look. What did he pay Reddick? $15 million? They figured out the Rubik's Cube there. He's one of the top sack leaders. He destroyed Brock Purdy in the NFC title game. He was a force down the stretch. That's 3-1 return on my investment of $15 million. Okay? That's 3-1. That's the kind of shit you're looking for. Darius Slay. Look how many Pro Bowls, all pro teams, since he made that deal with the Detroit Lions. Has it paid off and been beneficial? And they got him on a cheaper deal this year? 3-1, maybe even 4-1 return on that. Look at the return of investment he got on James Bradbury. Dude, so you got it. And it's harder with Hopkins. It is, because then we're talking about the 3-hole in the wide. Dude, if you were talking about the 2-hole in the wide receiver position, see, personally for me, if I'm DeAndre Hopkins, I might wait for the season to start and see who gets hurt. Because the receiver's going to get hurt. Then your value goes up. Then more teams panic. Wouldn't you wait? Get yourself a little more healthier and wait at least until the trading deadline? Why would you do it now? You don't need training camp. You're 31. You want to get $23 million? You're going to get $23 million near the trading deadline. Not on May 31st. Okay? Crow goes, I don't think D-Hop will fit into the Eagles' offense. Plus, he's too expensive. Crow, who's going to bid on him? You got 4 teams bidding on him. Why would 4 teams start the bidding at $23 million? Have you ever bid on a car or a house? You don't start at top dollar. You start at low dollar. You ever been to an auction? This guy thinks you're going to start, Kroll thinks you're going to start the auction for DeAndre Hopkins at $23 million. Why would 4 teams do that? Why would the Bills, Chiefs, Cowboys, and maybe Browns do that when there's only 4 teams? All of a sudden, you start at $10 million. Start there. See what happens. See what the market value is for him. The player believes he's still DeAndre Hopkins. He's not. Okay? He's not. Well, Forte, this ain't blind because we know what happened. ACL injury, he's 31, and he's not the same player he was 5 years ago. He is a game-changing player. Okay? Shit, how do you think the Cleveland Browns got Deshaun Watson? He was going to Arizona. He was going to Atlanta or Carolina. He wanted to play in the neck of the woods where he played his college ball. What did Cleveland do? They bribed him. That's how he got there. Yeah. So, do I think the Eagles are in the top 5? Top 10? But I don't think Howie can make it work. And I think those other teams, especially the Cowboys and Giants, have to have some interest in this. Okay? I would. Here's why. I got to get closer to Philly. You see, more NFC teams like Seattle. You got to get closer to Philly and San Francisco. More Philly than San Fran. Until San Francisco figures out the quarterback stuff, you're not going anywhere. You're not going anywhere. And so, yeah, to me, if you're Dallas, Seattle, the Giants, I would say this. Those are teams that have to get closer to Philadelphia. The AFC teams really don't. Well, the AFC teams could use them too. Like, I'll tell you what, I'd love to see them on the other side of Ridley down in Jacksonville. Ridley and DeAndre Hopkins, you could make an argument they got maybe a top 3 wide receiving group. He's going to make some, like, if he goes somewhere and becomes a 2, holy shit, man. If he goes to Kansas City, he would be incredible. 49ers, who's throwing him the ball? Sam Darnold? Okay. I mean, get your quarterback situation figured out in San Fran. You are a top 3 team in the NFC. But you know where your season ends? It ends either in the second round of the playoffs or in the NFC title game. You have no other ceiling other than that until you figure that thing out. Which you haven't been able to figure out but one time with Kyle Shanahan where you guys went to a Super Bowl. Okay, one thing I want to say about Howie Roseman. I was listening to the Chris Long interview that he had with Howie Roseman, and those two guys were going back and forth. I never realized, and the more you do your due diligence on him and the more you do the homework on him, the more you start to understand a little bit in his process and how he's creating that environment in there. I didn't know, for instance, that when he was put in the broom closet, he was actually traveling around Europe with R.C. Buford, the former general manager of the San Antonio Spurs, who built that dynasty into what that dynasty was with Greg Popovich. And those guys went around Europe and they were talking and they were looking at basketball guys. I thought it was interesting that he would go outside the NFL and get advice on how you run your organization. And maybe this speaks to why Doug Peterson at the end was one of the issues for Howie Roseman. You know what R.C. Buford said? It was the easiest thing I ever heard, but the smartest thing I ever heard. You know, Howie goes, how did you build these great teams in this dynasty with San Antonio? You know what he said? I hired people that I wanted to go to work with every single day. People I wanted to be around every day. And it made work enjoyable. Now, you have to be talented, of course. You're not going to be in those buildings unless you're not talented. But I thought for me, God, isn't that simple? Hire people you like to be around. Hire people that you enjoy going to work with every day. And one thing that has caught my eye over the last 3 years covering the Eagles is that is the environment at NovaCare. Everybody enjoys going to work because you know why? You hear the players saying it. You hear coaches saying it. You see positive energy. What's the thing we talk about all the time? Momentum. You see the momentum that the Eagles have, even after a Super Bowl loss. I thought it was really a poignant moment when I heard him say that to Chris, that, man, I'm hiring people now that I enjoy being around. Dude, people can have opinions. I'm sure he values a lot of people's opinion in the building. But that's what's changed the culture in Philadelphia since Andy Reid left. They've learned so much from Chip Kelly. There must have been so much hatred in that building for Chip Kelly that listening to Chris Long and Howie Roseman talk about, dude, you got to have people in the building everyone enjoys being around, or it's going to be counterproductive. You don't want to go to work. You despise the people that are in the cubicle next to you, in the locker next to you, the whole 9 yards. So no wonder they were very protective of Jalen Carter when that media guy went after him. Because can you imagine the people that have gone and done their work and have done all the homework on Jalen Carter to have some guy who didn't do any due diligence but maybe ask the position coach or some media guy down in Georgia about Jalen Carter and who he is, to get such a lame, outlying lying like that was probably insulting to them because of all the people that do their work and count on one another and trust one another. I thought it was a great interview. We took a lot of things away from that too, and we're going to have some topics here in a second on it, how he made some comments. But to me, R.C. Buford, I see it. R.C. Buford, I would say this point to you. R.C. Buford, Greg Popovich, the Patriots, they have a lot in common with one another. All role players, everyone knew their role when they came into the building. Everyone enjoyed going to work. You can't have that kind of success and not enjoy going to work every day. You just can't. It's not possible to show up. Dude, you guys know this. Working in your own lives. You guys just can't show up and go, hey, this is a really great place, and put a stupid face on knowing full. I've done that. And I'll tell you this. I said this to you before. I worked in Miami at WQAM for the market manager that you have in Philadelphia. I hated 99.9% of the people in that building because that environment sucked. I was at Clear Channel for 14 and a half years. I hated one guy. I loved 99% of the people, even out the door. 99.9% of the people. And I was there 14 and a half years in one job. And I enjoyed it. I was there 11 months and I hated my life. And I made twice as much money because the one guy in the building made the place unbearable. Happens. Places around in sports that is so essential. And to hear Howie talking, okay, and to hear Howie talking, how the environment is like that at the NovaCare Center, okay? Steve goes, but did 99% love you? That's not important whether you like me or not. It's important that I like you, Steve. I don't give a shit if people like me, because if I cared about who likes me, I would never love myself. And in this profession or in anything in life, you've got to have the confidence in yourself. Dude, I'm not here looking for people to love me. I'm looking for people to watch me and have fun here. If I cared about what people thought, I'd be in a mental home. Okay? That for me is the most. I learned that a long time ago in this business. If I cared what people wrote on social media or what people said about me, I'd be a basket case and I'd have been out of this and people would have beat me. You're not beating me. You can't beat me. You can't. You cannot beat me. You won't. Not happening. I beat myself. Yes. That's the only person that's beat me. has been me. Okay. I sound like I'm crying. Sorry. Yeah. I don't. Hey, I sound, for some reason, I just went off the rails. Okay. Anyway, I heard something on that interview with Chris Long that I have to ask you this. Okay. What was the best team that Howie Roseman has been general manager for? And I'm going somewhere with this new 2017 or this last year team. Okay. Dan just had a shroom flashback. Okay, sure. What was the better team? The 2017 team or the 2022 team? He beats himself. I got it now, Takeem. Thank you very much. Such a Philadelphia sports fan and so in the gutter, but I do love it. Yeah, Neil's asking me if I'm, yeah, man, don't worry. No, we're good. It's all good. I'm sorry I went there now. Michael goes last year. A couple more responses. The team that won the Super Bowl, Brian said. Okay, the Super Bowl team. Interesting. 22, says JM. Howie's answer was correct. 2017, because they won it all. That is the common thought process. Okay, last year's team, 17 coaches. Okay, enough here. I got enough here now. So let me ask this question now. Do you have to win a championship to really know what team is better or was better? You had one game, one weekend of the year where a team was better than you by about 7 minutes. And you think that determines, that 7 minutes in the Super Bowl determined what team was better? And by the way, for the record, Howie said the 17 team because he thinks like some of you. He thinks that, you got to win the chip. Do you? I mean, do you look at Dan Marino and say that Trent Dilfer's a better quarterback than him because he won a Super Bowl? Or that Joe Flacco is better than Dan Fouts because they didn't win? Or Charles Barkley? So are you trying to tell me that you think let me see, Sam Jones is a better basketball player than Charles Barkley? I mean, right? We need a chip is all that matters. Really? So 7 minutes of a football season that the Eagles didn't win the Super Bowl in 2022, in your opinion, means that the 17 team was better than the 22 team because of 7 minutes in a ball game. Yet you gave up 500 yards in total offense, well over 500 yards in total offense versus Tom Brady. Okay, it's Brady. Got it. The GOAT. So that's a good point, Bob. So you think the Buffalo Bills going to 4 straight AFC championship games and winning them, losing 4 Super Bowls, they're not one of the greatest teams of all time. A field goal. You think that the Giants were better. Or a missed field goal. A missed field goal. And that Buffalo Bills team, who won 4 AFC titles, is not considered one of the greatest. Why else play, 11 says. I think it's a great question. I do. So you guys think that 2014, let me ask you this one. You think the 2022 team Or do you think the 2014 was better? You were playing Brady, too, in that 4 game. Okay, you were playing Brady. And that thing, too. Okay. By the way, Chris Long said last year's team was better than the Super Bowl team. Last year's team, he said, was better. Said it, they were more dynamic on defense. They had better playmakers than they had. But Howie went, you guys won it, though. I kind of sided with Chris. I don't think 7 minutes decides whether or not you – dude, if you got blown out in that game and it was evident – how many people really believed that Kansas City was the better team? Why do I come away from that Super Bowl 58, thinking that the lesser team won the Super Bowl? Kansas City, in my opinion, is not a better team than you. They had a better night than you. Can we do that? And some of you are going to go, Sills, you have all. No, I'm asking, because I thought it was a great debate. So you trying to tell me, really, that you thought the best team won that Super Bowl? Did you think the best team won that Super Bowl? I do not. That's probably what really kills you in there a little bit more. Because you kind of know in your heart, you're like, that team is not better than that team. How about this? You know what's great about the NBA playoffs, which start tomorrow? Dude, in a 7-game series, you'll get who the best team is. I mean, at the end of the day, and some would go like this. So wait a minute. Here's another one for you. So do you guys really believe that the Miami Heat are a better team than the Boston Celtics? Or hey, the Heat versus the Nuggets. You would look at the Nuggets and go, the Nuggets are superior. I don't know. Robert Horry's got 7 rings. He's got more rings than Larry Bird. He's better? You think Robert Horry's a better player than Larry Bird? Or LeBron James because he's got more titles? Well, he's got more titles than LeBron. He's got 7 championship rings. Is he better than Tim Duncan? I wonder if it matters more individually than it does team-wise. I think your 2022 team is the best assembled, talented roster I've seen. I'm trying to think of the best rosters I've ever seen. In the salary cap era, give me a better team than the 2022 Philadelphia Eagles in the salary cap era. Salary cap. The Colts Super Bowl, Freeney, Harrison, Wayne, Dallas Clark, Peyton Manning, Bob Sanders. That's a pretty good roster. Plus the running back was Edgerrin James. No, it was was it Edgerrin James? I think it was James, right? Rams. They had Falk and Warner, 2 Hall of Famers. Jeff Saturday was on that Colts team. Seattle Super Bowl. Seattle had a great football team. Lost to the Steelers. Buccaneers. That salary cap 2002? 2001, the Bucks. Whew. Sapp, Brooks, Ahanitu, Simeon Rice, Barber, Lynch, Allstott, Ward Dunn, Keyshawn. But it's a good football team. That's a good football team. That's a good football team. So you guys do believe that you have to have the championship chip to call yourself the best. Okay, I don't think you're wrong. Here's where I come from this, because I kind of tied it in. My 1987 national championship Miami Hurricane team was nowhere near as good as the team the year before when Penn State upset us. They were not better. I can't usually say that publicly, but when I heard Chris Long say that, I'm like, dude, the next year, it was all of our backups that won the national title. They were all of our backups. Any positions that they had were our backups. We were a better team, but that night we lost. Circumstances were crazy, but we lost still. It's an L. The next year we won it, undefeated. But I will always contend that the year before we had the better team. Shit, I would even say that 2001 Hurricane National Championship team, I don't think it was better than the 2002 team that lost to Ohio State in the national title game. I think that team was better than the 01 team. And the 01 team put a bunch of guys, they almost put as many guys as we put 65 guys in the pros off an 83-man roster at Miami in my 86 team. My 86 team put 65 guys in the pros. Juniors, seniors, sophomores. Okay? So I liked when I heard Chris Long say that. He was like, so, he was talking to Howie, and he was saying that, I thought I think the 2022 team was better. It's just here. Does this sound better, Tone? The 2022 team was a better football team than the 2017. The 2017 team is more accomplished. They're more of an accomplished team because they won the Super Bowl. The 2022 team was the better unit, I think. Okay? Foles played out of his mind, but Hurts played out of his mind all year long like that. And it was one guy on the horse. It wasn't two dudes. It was a whole different thing. So the 17 team is the most accomplished team in Philadelphia Eagle history. Plus, they won 17 games that year. I mean, they won 17 games. But the 2022 team had the most talent on it. It was the most talented football team, the Philadelphia Eagles. If someone goes, Sills, what's the most talented football team in the Super Bowl era that the Eagles have ever had? It would be the 22 team. More than the 04 team, the 17 team, the 80 Super Bowl team, the McNabb Super Bowl team. I would say that, to be fair. Okay? All right. I want to get into this other topic here. And by the way, I think there's going to be some free agents that are going to be. Actually, let's do that now. Now I know why you guys are talking to me about Patrick Queen. I did some research on it. There's a really great chance tomorrow he'll be released by the Ravens. You're right. He's a linebacker. Here are the big names that I think are going to be first up on the list. June 1 is where you have to have your 90-man roster set for camp. Okay? These are 4 people that I'm hearing right now. Dalvin Cook will be cut. Hey, I'll tell you what. Boy, I sniff out the Cowboys in that one. You remember something. Every single football team in the NFC has to catch you. Okay? They have to catch you. And there's some significant dudes here. DeAndre Hopkins is out there, so you add that guy to this mix. Ryan Tannehill might get cut. There's a chance Tannehill, because of the money that he makes, he gets cut June 1. I think it's a 50-50 deal that he gets cut. Could he go to the Raiders because of what's going on with Garoppolo? He might be cut. Now, I don't think Mike Vrabel wants to sit there and plug the new kid in. Could that be a place where Wentz goes? I don't know. I'm just saying Ryan Tannehill's name is getting thrown around because he makes a ton of money that he may get cut come June 1. Make roster spots. Dalvin Cook, Ryan Tannehill, Patrick Queen, and here's the other one, Shaq Barrett. Now, he's coming off, I think, if I'm not mistaken, what did Bruce Arians tell me 2 nights ago? I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think Shaq Barrett's coming off of an Achilles injury. That's an old man's injury. So I don't know if he's going to be ready for the start of training camp. Shaq Barrett, linebacker, he's still recovering. Would Shaq Barrett be something that the Eagles would invest in and sign? And he could be ready by the start of the season or the first, at least, quarter pole of the season? Or are you looking and circling yourself right now for Patrick Queen? Now, here's the other guy. I do not believe that they are going to cut this man. I do not believe that the Bucs would cut this guy. But Devin White, I do not think that they will cut him. But we're talking about a guy who wants a 3-year contract extension, and he's a $20 million guy. But the Buccaneers are in cap hell right now. Okay? Got to kick the tires on Shaq Barrett. Shaq Barrett's a heck of a pass rusher and a skilled linebacker. He's a skilled linebacker. Okay? Skilled. Big Pickin goes, Patrick Queen makes the most sense. Devin White for a second round. They may cut him. Wait until ERA. I would say this. Yeah, it's okay. Second rounder for Devin White plus $15 million. See, here's why I like that deal, what you're saying. I'm not going to sign him to a 1-year contract, though. I want him on a 3-year deal, 15, 20, 25, something like that, or 15, 18, and 20. And here's why. He's 25 years old. He's been a captain for 3 years on the Bucs. You could keep that guy in that linebacker position. Remember what I told you about getting a return on investment 3-1? That guy could be the inside middle linebacker, and then you could probably play around with N'Kobe on the perimeter on strong side or will linebacker, and you could play around with him and help him come along more with Devin White in the middle there. And that guy gives you 3-1 return on investment. He's a superstar player. He could be in your defense for 10 years, and he's going to play behind your 2 biggest investments that you've made in the draft the last 2 years. See, this is something else that I think Eagle fans aren't plugging in here. You're going to have a 1-year player who's never started in the NFL in Jordan Davis, or never been considered a starter yet, Jordan Davis, and you're going to have Jalen Carter, and you're going to have a rookie. So your triangle has 0 experience in the NFL. Every coordinator on the planet, I don't care how much talent you think they have, they're going to attack that because they attack knowledge in the NFL. They don't attack names. They attack knowledge. They're going to come right at you. That's why having a guy like TJ Edwards or Kaiser White, who are experienced professionals, was such a huge factor last year. And then when you got 2 more professionals in Linville Joseph and Ndamukong Suh, you got 2 more pros. That team last year had all those professional mentality men that knew how to play the game on that defense. You don't have that this year. You got it in spots. What does that mean when I say that? You had that all over the team last year. Now you have it in spots. Well, anytime you use the word spots, that means you have holes. There's more holes on this defense this year than by far there was last year. And the holes on the defense last year, limited in run stopping, linebackers couldn't cover backs and tight ends, and the safety struggle in the middle of the field against high percentage completion quarterbacks. That actually was a 2-year thing. Actually, all three of those things I named were 3-year issues that you had in your defense. You were exceptional on getting to the quarterback. You were great on zone coverages. You were never asked the press coverage because that's not what they did, because they didn't play very many good people. They didn't have to worry about that. They played center field all year. They weren't a duo like they have in Dallas. You see, your duo you think is better, but you don't play man coverage. Now, some would go, well, that's by design. Okay. But don't sit there and tell me you have the best, because when you were asked to play man in the Super Bowl, you ran into one another. When they were passing wide receivers off, Andy Reid made the defensive backs on the Philadelphia Eagles last year look like it was the Keystone Cops. You were running into one another. Go back and watch this. Go back and watch the fourth quarter, especially. You were running into one another, knocking guys off routes that were covering wideouts, but they were your own guys. Made it out of the NFC with holes, Eagles said. Yeah, you played the Giants. And you played Christian McCaffrey in the 49ers in the title game. You were never threatened last year in the NFC. You were never threatened. And it wasn't, and the NFC's not very good. The only team in the NFC that can win the Super Bowl are the Eagles. There's 6 teams that can win the Super Bowl in the AFC. 6 teams. In the NFC, there's not a team outside of Philly that could win that thing. You're not beating the Bills and the Bengals if you're the Seahawks or the Cowboys. Let's take the Eagles out of the conversation. What team do you really think could challenge the Chiefs in the Super Bowl from the NFC? Name me one. The Cowboys? The Seahawks? The Niners? Well, figure out the quarterback and get back to me. Okay, now, the Niners? You think the Niners, with Christian McCaffrey playing quarterback or Brock whatever playing quarterback, is going to beat Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes when they just beat, I said, the best roster that the Eagles have had in the Super Bowl era? Not likely. See, this all ties in what we're talking about here. Saints can beat the Chiefs, the Bengals, the Bills, the Jags. Could they beat the Chargers? Not a chance. The Saints? If you take Philadelphia out of the equation in the NFC, it's JV. So you think, Tyler, the Lions could beat the Chiefs, the Bengals, or the Bills in the Super Bowl? Never. They beat them by 40 points. They beat them by 40. There's nothing in the NFC. Like I said, take the Eagles out of the NFC. Here, I wrote something down here. Here are the best rosters. Look at this. I can't believe this is all kind of tying in here. Here's the best rosters, in my opinion, in the NFL. Not teams. Here's the best rosters right now on May 31st. The Eagles are 1. I think they got the best roster. Even with the limited Swiss cheese defensive holes you have, you still have really good talent on that side, especially in the premium positions. What is that? Pass rushing and corner. Now, I'll tell you what, we'd have more of a problem with the Eagle defense if they were limited at corner and couldn't rush the passer, because then you'd be the Bears defense. But you're not. Are you going to get 70 sacks? No. But I think you come in at 50-something. That puts you still in the top 3. Your corners don't play press. However, that's not what they're asked to do. Okay? They're limited up the middle, like I said. Now, here's the one thing the Eagles have where you have to always put a pause on it and put a doorstop in it. You know what it is? Dude, you did draft Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter, back-to-back defensive tackles in your last two previous drafts. There's got to be something to it, and I believe that. And I believe that. So I buy the hype. I buy the hype. They're big, they're physical, they're talented. Whether we think the guy's the 22nd pick or the 13th pick, he's still a first rounder. Who gives a shit at the end of watch this about Jordan Davis? You know what you're not going to hear me say? 13th pick, 22nd pick. I don't give a shit anymore. Go play ball, kid. Whether he lives up to it or not, go play ball. Be an impact guy. You're a first round draft choice. Who cares? Unless he was the number 1 overall pick, I don't care anymore. Go play. Go. We're now in year 2. I don't give a shit about that, where you were. Go. You think anybody cares that Jason Kelce was a 6th rounder now? You think anybody cares that Jordan Mailata was a 7th round draft choice? You think anybody cares? Nobody gives a shit about that. He's a Pro Bowl talent. It's time to get over that stuff. Seriously. With Jordan Davis, including me, time to get over that. No one cares anymore. You're either going to be a ball player or you're not. Well, he's not going to. Well, then guess what? Let's see what kind of ball player he is. So he turns out to be a 3rd round talent. You keep a 3rd round talent on your football team anyway. Josh Sweat was a 4th rounder. Nobody cares. Let's move on. I think the Eagles have the best roster in the NFL. Again, for the 2nd straight year. Wait till I get into this Howie Roseman topic. I heard something and I dissected it the only way that I could dissect it. And it's a conversation on what Howie's doing and how he's building the roster and how I took away from it. I got the 49ers as the 2nd best roster. Again, quarterback, you got to figure it out. They got the 2nd best roster. Do you know what more of the shame is in San Francisco? You have that roster. And do you know what you're doing in San Francisco right now? You are wasting every single bit of leverage will ever have in that organization. I'll tell you here in a second. Weapon goes, we got away with murder with last year's schedule. If Hurts didn't boss him so fast, we was talking to quarterback, and we were taking a quarterback in this year's draft. Hey, but he did. Okay? But do you know what San Francisco is wasting right now? Look at what they're wasting. They're wasting away with all that talent. You spent $20 million on Javon Hargrave. Okay. Overpaid, but whatever. But here's where you're missing it. What was the biggest advantages on how John Schneider and Bill Belichick built those two franchises over the last 15 to 20 years? What was the biggest advantage? Their quarterbacks were taken in later rounds. How he's utilizing that right now. Brady was a 6th rounder. Russell was a 3rd rounder. I told you the story before. They had a backup quarterback for the first 2 years. Russell Wilson was a starting quarterback in Seattle, making more money than him. The backup quarterback was making more money than Jalen Hurts last year in Philly. But what were they able to do? They were able to go into free agency. They were able to give contracts to players and corners and people like Darrelle Revis, keep guys like Hightower on the team, right? They were always going to be cap integrity, but they were going to pay the premium positions. Seattle built that defense. And get this, if you look at all the players that they built that defense with, the majority of them were taken in later rounds, not the first round. Guys like Cam Chancellor. But they used the leverage that they had with not having to pay their quarterback $35, $45 million, whatever it is. You're losing that. Every year that San Francisco doesn't figure out the quarterback, you lose that leverage that you have on building your roster. John Lynch has a roster that he's going to start having to – he's assembled a great roster, but he doesn't have the captain on the ship right now. That's why they're limited in how far they go. He knows it. ERA, the Niners are a Lamborghini with flat tires? Yeah, that's exactly what they are. You're a boat without a rudder. I don't care what it looks like. You're not going nowhere. Still, you're wasting a great roster. Here, let me put it to you this way. If Jalen Hurts was on the 49ers, nobody would beat him. Because I do think that's a phenomenal roster. But Jalen takes the Niners. I got the Bengals third, underrated defense. I think the Bengals are the team to beat, actually, in the AFC this coming year. I think they are the team to beat. I think they got the best roster. Joe Burrow is a great leader. He's a great quarterback. I think the Bengals are the team to beat in the AFC. By the way, last 3 years, they've been sensational. Now they got to win it. I got the Bills 4. Bills, in my opinion, I think they got a 10-year window with that quarterback. I think the Jaguars are 5th. I think they got the 5th best roster. I think the Chiefs are 6th. I think they got the 6th best roster. I got the Dolphins 7th. I think they're loaded. I got the Lions 8th. I think the Lions have more talent. Hey, would you guys agree? When I look at the Lions, especially when they get Jameson Williams after his suspension, I would say the Lions have more talent than the Dallas Cowboys. I don't have a problem saying that. Cowboys running back position, I don't know. Okay? I mean, their wide receiving core kind of upgraded with Brandon Cooks. Tight end position's terrible. The offensive line is getting older. But I want to show you one thing before I continue here. Well, let me finish. I got the Seahawks 9. I got the Chargers 10. These are the 10 best rosters. The 10 best rosters. Not teams, rosters. Eagles 1, Niners 2, Bengals 3, Bills 4, Jags 5, Chiefs 6, Lions 7, Dolphins 7, Lions 8, Seahawks 9, Chargers 10. I could put the Jets there. Again, these are the best rosters. But as you guys say, got to win the championship. Even though you guys know in your heart that the 2022 Philadelphia Eagles were the better team in the Super Bowl. But the Chiefs beat you. So the lesser team won. The lesser team won. Every single one of these teams have great rosters. But what do they all have in common? They got quarterbacks who have been in the MVP conversation the last year, put up great numbers, and look how young they are. Bengals working on a new contract for Burrow. Bills just got a brand new deal done for Allen. Lawrence still on a rookie deal. Chiefs, Mahomes, they've gutted the team, still won the Super Bowl. Tua, they picked this option up. Lions, a reclamation project in Jared Goff. You know what's funny also about this list? There's 3 teams on this list that didn't have first-round quarterbacks. Eagles, Niners, Trey Lance, I don't know. You want to count, you could count it like a half. And the Seahawks, all of them were either the first pick in the draft or first-round draft choices. Niner guy all day goes, Hurts isn't all that either. 22 passing touchdowns. Yeah, but you're not looking at the most important number. He had 6 picks. Look at the differential when it comes to touchdown to interception ratio. That, to me, is the one thing that wins games, not turning the ball over. I think you missed the point there, Niner. Like maybe I did early on in the season of last year for Hurts. Hurts also went for a double-digit in touchdown runs. And in my opinion, those are low percentage plays. This guy has a Tom Brady mentality of what? You may not throw for 55 touchdowns, but who cares if you throw for 55 touchdowns and you have 21 picks or 15 picks? You turn the ball over in critical situations. Okay? I mean, the Eagles do not turn the ball over and they win first down. So, I mean, just between Jalen Hurts and Miles Sanders a year ago, you had over 21 touchdowns. I mean, just between those two guys running the ball. The number one thing in the NFL to win football games, the Eagles have figured out. Win short yardage, stop the run as best you can, and don't turn the ball over. And they mastered it last year. Hey, there's no doubt that Patrick Mahomes had a sensational season, and he ended up closing it up by winning the Super Bowl. He's a generational player, no doubt about it. But the Eagles got there also by playing great football, turnover-free football, and injury-free football. That's how they won. It's a smart approach. It's not fancy. Even though at the end of the day, you know what you do? You look up and you go like this. Damn, they put up all those numbers? Wasn't really dramatic, though, was it? And you're like, shit, man, that's still some good ball. Right? That's still some great ball, man. So they're turnover issues. And by the way, once again, when it comes, yeah, you're going to have this three-headed conversation in the NFC. And again, my point, once again, the NFC, I mean, what's the challenge? How many people really believe that Daniel Jones is the dude? Daniel Jones, I can't believe. I feel like doing this. Daniel Jones? Why do I think Jeff Hostetler's better? I mean, when I look at Daniel Jones, do I see one of the great giant quarterbacks? I see a Dave Brown. I see Dave Brown when I see him. Maybe a better Dave Brown. I mean, right? Do you guys even remember who Dave Brown was? I did. Am I right? I mean, when I look at Daniel Jones, I go like this. I don't know, a better Dave Brown. Remember that guy who played quarterback for them? Is he better than Kerry Collins? I mean, the thing about the Eagle offense is that it wasn't really flashy. It was productive and efficient. Make mistake-free. I could get behind. Yeah, anytime. Well, here's a comment. Here's what Jimmy Johnson used to say to us, whether it was the Cowboys or whether it was at the University of Miami. It's not about spectacular plays. It's about not making the dumb plays. The team that it's not the team that makes the greatest plays in the game that wins the Super Bowl. It's the team that doesn't make the stupid mistakes during a game. And when you make the stupid mistakes, you drop the ball in the Super Bowl. You're doing coverages in the fourth quarter that you hadn't done all year when you started playing press coverage. Things that you didn't do, and you came out of character. And you weren't prepared as your coordinator for that game. That, to me, again, is why the lesser team came away from Arizona, and everyone in Philadelphia, I'll tell you this, that loss by the Eagles could have set that franchise back just like it did Atlanta. Look at what Atlanta's been digging out of for the last, what is it now, 5 years since Brady won that thing? 4 years? I mean, he sent that franchise into the toilet. Into the toilet. They never, they haven't, I don't think they've recovered since that season. I don't think they've recovered. And then you turn around and again, like I said, who do the Eagles have to, I mean, you look at the Eagles in the NFC. I mean, Dallas, okay, because Dallas plays great against Philly. It's a rivalry. And quite frankly, I would say the best rivalry in the NFL right now in the NFC is Cowboys and Eagles. It's not Bears and Packers. Are you kidding me? That's not watchable. Jordan Love and Justin Fields, please don't wake me up for that. Okay, don't wake me up for that one. 49ers and Rams, yeah, that's a good one. Okay, that's a good one. Okay, but I mean, Detroit, Minnesota could be something. Seattle, San Fran's not bad. Dude, but it's Cowboys and Eagles. Those will be the two best teams inside their division playing against one another for an opportunity to go to either the Super Bowl or the NFC Championship. 5-star 49ers, the Rams and Sean McVay does a great job on him. Okay? I got a spin on Howie Roseman. I heard something, and I want to throw this at you here. I'll tell you something. I heard him on that Chris Long podcast, and it is a ton of content. And I got to listen to him, how he sees things a little bit more. That R.C. Buford and that conversation that he was talking about on how he hires people to have a great environment at the NovaCare Center. That comes from the owner too. But there's a spin on what he's doing with your roster now that I loved. I want to hit on that. Hey, by the way, remember something I told you? My friend Jason Cole's going to come on with us in hour 3. Be nice to him. You know why? He's going to vote for Eric Allen. I need you guys to be nice to that guy. And I'm not just putting him on for shits and giggles. This is why we put all the Hall of Famers on when it comes to voting. I tried to get Rick Gosselin. Rick's having an unfortunate circumstance go on in his family. He's also on and the chairman of the committee. Okay? That's why these guys are on. They're on for you, not me. I don't give a shit. I don't have to have guests. Okay? I don't. Hour number 2,